very good evening to all our viewers. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the News First team, I'm Yuki Poshia. Before we head into stories in detail, let's start off with a look at your headlines for tonight.
Order issued to release consignment of essential goods stockpiled at ports to the local market. Price revision of milk powder, wheat flour and gas to be announced on Monday. Minister GLP seeks concessions from the UAE to purchase oil. Indigenous medicine box to all households once the country reopens. 6 billion rupees allocated for the purpose. Partly Champika Ranawaka appears before the CID.
මගේ ප්‍රහාරයට ලක් වෙන්නේ මේ රට රවට්ටපු මේ ආණ්ඩුව. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒකට බය වෙලා ඉන්න බව මට තේරෙනවා.
Elephants enter the Portugal Vihara after electric fence is removed to construct jogging track.
මන්තිරු නෙවෙයි මෙතන ඕනේ මේ මිනිසුන්ගේ ආරක්ෂාව. ජාතික අපරාධ මේවා.
Starting off with your top story for tonight, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed the release of containers with essential goods that are stockpiled at ports. Now, the directive was issued during a meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee on the Cost of Living.
The Association of Essential Goods Importers has said around 800 containers of essential goods including dal, garlic, canned fish and milk products are lying at ports. They say that they haven't been able to clear the stocks due to the shortage of dollars. Accordingly, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa instructed the Controller General of Imports and Exports and the Director General of Customs to release the stocks of essential items. Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa instructed Trade Minister Bandula Gunawardena to ensure the goods reach customers through the importers and Satosa outlets. During the meeting, it was stressed that it is the responsibility of the Trade Minister and agricultural officials to release essential goods, including rice, to the market and to prevent a shortage. We discussed extensively on the issues concerning rice and paddy and the shortage of sugar, flour, milk powder and cement. Accordingly, the Cabinet Subcommittee on Cost of Living decided to make a final decision on this during the Cabinet meeting next Monday evening. We are requesting the business community to avoid concealing stocks of goods by expecting prices to increase. Do not sell goods above the stipulated prices. The Consumer Affairs Authority will take the relevant steps to implement these regulations after next Tuesday. During the meeting, permission was granted to source maize and other animal feed from overseas markets until the local harvest is made available. Stocks of goods had been stuck at ports due to the shortage of dollars. This problem has affected all purchasers as well. Sri Lanka's Foreign Minister Professor G.L. Piris has sought concessions from the United Arab Emirates to fulfill the country's oil requirements. The UAE's Minister of Industries and Advanced Technology, Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber, had proposed the establishment of a strategic framework to take the process forward. The meeting between the two ministers had taken place during the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. Around 300,000 Sri Lankans are currently employed in the UAE. Accordingly, Sri Lanka's foreign minister had thanked the UAE for giving job opportunities for Sri Lankans during the pandemic. He had highlighted the government's ability to accommodate the specific priorities and requirements of visitors from the Gulf region.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa attended the special commemorative event at the Manhattan Memorial in the United States to mark the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks alongside several other world leaders.
The commemorative event was held in Manhattan, New York. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa attended the United Nations Food Systems Summit last evening. Attending the event virtually, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa apprised the international community on Sri Lanka's endeavour to promote organic agriculture following a ban on chemical fertilizer, pesticides and pesticides.
Our more recent past, however, saw increasing use of chemical fertilizers, pesticides and weedicides that led to adverse health and environmental impacts. My government took the bold step to restrict imports of these harmful substances earlier this year. However, changing the mindset of farmers long accustomed to using chemical fertilizer has proven challenging. So too has the production of sufficient quantity of organic fertilizer domestically. Sri Lanka welcomes technical assistance and bilateral support in this regard. Fostering organic agriculture is part of a wider program that includes enhancing market-oriented, inclusive food value chains to reduce rural poverty. Through such improvements, I am confident Sri Lanka will be able to sustainably transform its food system and ensure greater food security and better nutrition for its people.
Multiple factions, including political parties and trade unions, have raised serious concerns on handing over a stake of the Kedavalapitiya power plant to a foreign firm, thereby compromising the energy sovereignty of Sri Lanka.
ලංකාවේ විදුලි බල ජනනයෙන් මෙගාවොට් 1680.
A massive crisis could emerge by handing over more than 50% of Sri Lanka's energy, that is around 1,680 megawatts, to a single person or a company. We are aware of it. We met the Prime Minister yesterday and intend to discuss this matter with the President and make the right decision. If a wrong decision is reached, it will be rectified.
කජු ගෙඩියක් තලලා වගේ ඔබව පැත්තකට දාලා හතරට පහට ඇටකටු ටික කඩලා කතා කරන්න.
They are breaking your bones, restricting your freedom of speech, disallowing you to voice your concern as a citizen and upliftering your lands. They are taking over your power plants and you have to toil hard for a single meal.
ඔවුන් ගන්නවා. ඔබ දුවන්නේ ඔබේ ආහාර වේල සොයාගෙනයි.
All these events spell out the end of this government. The day our general public takes to the streets is not far off. We want to strictly advise the government to suspend all agreements, be it the Yugadanavi power plant deal, lands at the Colombo port or the Selandiva Corporation.
The assets of the country will not be sold. Not just our nation, but even developed nations followed a cordial policy to attract FDIs. An investment of $500 million will be used for this project. Another investment worth $250 million will be made towards the shares belonging to the Treasury. In 15 years, the LNG power plant will be transferred to the CEB. The government has also agreed to amend certain facts. 40% of the Yugadanavi power plant was handed over like they were carrying presents when visiting their children. This is similar to handing it over through a gift deed. If the country is being sold to China, America will not sit and watch. This will turn into a major crisis resulting in political instability in the future. This could also concern national security. We wish to make a request from America to send some aircraft like they did in Afghanistan. There are around 6 million people who did not vote for them who wish to emigrate to countries like America. We cannot be slaves of this government.
The four-nation alliance known as Quad is to meet at around 11:30 p.m. Sri Lankan time today. The United States, Japan, India and Australia form a group called Quad that aims to counter China's power in the Indo-Pacific region, which includes Sri Lanka. The White House said today's meeting will focus on strengthening ties on several matters, including promoting a free and open Indo-Pacific. They will also discuss combating COVID-19, addressing the climate crisis, partnering on emerging technologies and cyberspace. US President Joe Biden will meet India's Narendra Modi, Australia's Scott Morrison and Japan's Yoshihide Suga at the White House tonight. According to the White House, today's Quad meeting shows the Biden-Harris administration's priority of engaging in the Indo-Pacific. Meanwhile, India's Prime Minister has met with Japanese and Australian Prime Ministers and the United States Vice President Kamala Harris in the last 24 hours. He is also to meet US President Joe Biden before the Quad meeting. The Quad meeting is set to take place days after Australia signed a deal with the US and the UK to receive nuclear submarines. Analysts say the deal, called AUKUS, is a move to counter China's power.
The Maha cultivating season is expected to commence in another month. But will farmers grow crops this season? How will they sustain their cultivations without adequate fertilizer? That is the question which cries out for an immediate answer.
Farmers of Pallegama, Kolavinigama, Mauldenia in Kotapala are pondering whether they should toil hard and cultivate crops or cultivate crops and then suffer to sustain them.
There is no proper mechanism to carry out our cultivations with the lack of chemical fertilizer. All our fields had gone barren. We are left with no other option but to abandon our fields.
Farmers attempted to nourish their crops with compost at the behest of the government. However, it did not return a favorable yield.
At the beginning, the government promised to provide quality compost manure, but that is not the case anymore. Now the government has asked us to sign a piece of paper that shifts the burden of manufacturing organic fertilizer to the farmer. They have asked us to use our own waste from our fields to manufacture our own stocks of fertilizer. Asking us to sign our own death certificates is a better option than this. Once these fields turn barren, we have nothing to eat.
Farmers who bear the mammoth responsibility of supplying rice to the nation have now been left with a shortage of rice for their own consumption.
Farmers are waiting for fertilizer as they approach the Maha cultivation season. Farmers of 10 associations in Hasalaka in Kandy are complaining about this problem.
The Maha season will begin in a month. We were asked to prepare compost fertilizer on our own and to use them in our own fields. When we checked our fields, the compost fertilizer remains the same as we applied it. It hasn't mixed with the soil. The weeds are as it is. Therefore, the farmers of Minipe are in extreme fear on how we can cultivate during the next season. The officials and ministers who advise us receive a salary at the end of the month. We can earn a living only through what we cultivate and reap.
It has reached a point in which they are trying to politicize the agriculture industry. To whom can we complain about this? Farmers are unable to begin cultivation for this season. Where is the fertilizer? Why can't they think about us? We need materials to make compost fertilizer. They say the government will give us a chemical so that the compost will mix with the soil. Aren't those chemicals? Won't that cause kidney diseases? This is hilarious. Give farmers what they need. Otherwise, farmers will demolish your homes. Now, the lack of fertilizer and low purchasing prices continue to plague the livelihoods of farmers. All they could enjoy was water from Sri Lanka's magnificent bodies of water. However, the country's rivers are also under threat due to the construction of jogging tracks. Another threat emerged from the vicinity of the Parakrama Samudra in Polonnaruwa today.
The Podgul village is at a threat of wild elephant attacks. Fences to keep away elephants were removed to make way for a jogging track near the Parakrama Samudra. An incident of this nature was reported last evening. A wild elephant had encroached into the Podgul village after tearing down a fence. Villagers say 3 wild elephants made their way into the village from the Parakrama Samudra.
They removed the fences to build a jogging track. Eventually there was nothing. Look at the coconut trees. These are national crimes. These fences were built by spending about 15 million rupees.
Several issues have arisen due to the construction of a jogging track near a national resource that deserves a World Heritage status. The national movement to protect the Parakrama Samudra expressed its views on this today.
Yesterday, letters had been distributed in a personal capacity among temples in Polonnaruwa for a special meeting on development activities in the Polonnaruwa district. This is what they distributed. They asked all temples to attend this. They delivered an address saying the sluice gates won't be affected and that the jogging track can be constructed. We must emphasize with the monks. About 65 or 66 monks attended that. They attended the meeting. They were just listening to the address. About 20 monks had visited the bund of the Vava later, but they won't be able to harm it. We wish to say that we will protect this with our lives. We will take this action further. I wish to kindly request President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to understand that this is not required in Polonnaruwa. Therefore, we request to reconstruct the breakwater as the rains are approaching.
අධික වර්ෂාවක් එළඹෙන කාලේ නිසා මේකේ තිබුණ තත්ත්වයට ගල් ටික හදලා දෙන්න කටයුතු කරන්න. යම් දවසක මෙහි වැඩ කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරන්නේ නම්
If they commence this project, I wish to state that I will jump into the Parakrama Samudraya on behalf of the Mahasangha and the farmers to protect the Parakrama Samudraya of the Polonnaruwa district.
කටයුතු කරනවා මා ප්‍රකාශ කරමින් නිහඬ වෙනවා.
We wish to request for the activities of these childish ministers to be stopped. If they are trying to carry out this project, we know how it should be stopped. We will stand with the farmers in that location on that day.
If
our Parakrama Samudra is being affected, we oppose that. That is the greatest resource in Polonnaruwa. It has been extremely beneficial to the people there. Therefore, if this is being damaged, we wish to oppose that on behalf of the Muslims. Former Auditor General Gamni Vijay Singh joined his support against the project to protect the Parakrama Samudraya for future generations.
I feel that this will be scrapped off completely. The people have the responsibility of protecting the bund of the Vava for the future. This is what is left for the people of Polonnaruwa. Apart from that, I feel this bund must be protected for thousands of people. Therefore, I wish to state that this must remain unharmed.
In more local news, the COVID-19 Prevention Committee led by Minister Basil Rajapaksa held an online meeting today. Now, the committee has decided to draw up a plan on health guidelines and restrictions that need to be imposed when the quarantine curfew is lifted.
The plan will include recommendations by health experts on the public and private sectors, public transport, reopening of schools, the operation of the airport and the tourism sector.
It's better if we can plan ahead of the restrictions to be followed once we reopen the country. If we can decide on a mechanism to operate public transport, we will have time to prepare for it. Otherwise, if we reopen the country on the 1st, the public will misuse the easing of restrictions. If that happens, all our efforts will be wasted.
When we impose restrictions on public transport, some try to cross provincial boundaries using several buses. I think we should pay more attention to these matters.
Tourists are kept at the airport until the PCR test result is received. We don't want to do it anymore. Tourists always book a hotel before they come to the country. If the PCR test is negative and if they are fully vaccinated, they can enter society. Since we have allowed home quarantine, even travelers can undergo quarantine at their lodging after a PCR test. We have instructed them to avoid leaving their homes. If a person tests positive, we will inform the area PHI about them.
An indigenous medicine box is to be given free of charge to all homes. Minister of Indigenous Medicine Promotion, Rural and Ayurveda Hospitals Development, Sisira Jayakodi said 6 billion rupees is allocated for this purpose. How did the lockdown affect the country's economy?
We were able to bring up the GDP growth of the country up to 12% during the second quarter of 2021. However, we think this will drop to 1% during the end of the third quarter. If we can bring this up to 3% during the fourth quarter, we will be able to reach 5% of GDP growth for this year.
The vaccination of children between 12 to 19 years of age suffering from cognitive disorders is expected to conclude by the end of October. Children with neuro, cardio and respiratory complications were vaccinated today, centering the Colombo, Kurunegala and Anuradhapura districts. They were administered Pfizer vaccines. Minister of Health Kehali Ramukwella and Shiranti Rajapaksa were in attendance at the Lady Ridgeway Hospital to inspect the vaccination program of children.
ඇත්තටම මේ එන්නත ලබා ගැනීම සඳහා දරුවන් වෙනුවෙන් ලියාපදිංචි වීමක් අවශ්‍යද?
ඔව් මෙහෙමයි ලියාපදිංචි වීමක්.
It is not mandatory. However, that facility has been enabled. If one is aware of it, you can visit the website of the Lady Ridgeway Hospital and register for the vaccine. If you are unable to do so, arrive at the hospital directly and get the jab. However, if you have pre-registered, you can obtain the vaccine without too many delays because a date and time will be given to you.
මේ එන්නත ලබා ගැනීමේ හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා.
What steps will be followed prior to vaccination?
We will first obtain the consent of the patient. Further, a doctor must recommend for the vaccine to be administered. Once the vaccine is administered, the consultant on emergency situations will decide when to send the child home.
හදිසි අවස්ථා පිළිබඳ විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍යවරයා තුමාගේ දැඩි අධීක්ෂණය යටතේ තමයි දරුවා ඊට පස්සේ ගෙදර යවන එක තීරණය කරන්නේ.
Vaccinations were also carried out on children at the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital and the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital today. The vaccination drive is expected to be carried out island-wide from next Monday.
Let's now toss over to a short commercial break. Do stay with News First. We will be right back.
Do your online shopping with Sambole.lk. Home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Samagi Janabalawege parliamentarian Partly Champika Ranawaka was summoned before the CID today in order to record a statement over an alleged misappropriation of funds worth 75 million rupees allocated for awareness campaigns under the Ministry of Mega Police. The parliamentarian, who provided a statement for over 3 hours, addressed the media thereafter and denied any acts of deviating from accepted procurement procedures between 2018 and 2019.
A
vital fact came to light today. That is, the telephone records of those implicated have been obtained by the director of the CID without even a court order. That is a serious breach of their privacy. Their motive behind these is clear. The former Attorney General himself has admitted of a grand conspiracy behind the April 21st attacks. There are 23 volumes of the report, but only one was published. The rest is hidden. Instead of answering those questions, people like us who reveal this matter are being summoned. Further, a disastrous campaign on inciting racial violence is being carried out using state media. I will attack the government which has deceived our nation. Remember this, I will attack them. They should fear it. It is evident that they are in fear.
The government has failed to arrest a single person apart from Rishad Badruddin since it came into power. Rishad Badruddin is being used as a scapegoat for everything by this government. The government cannot evade its responsibility forever. The hierarchy of this government will face the consequences soon.
During the good governance period, they called these buildings headquarters for political revenge. If one can recall, it was either a person who looted funds or people who were involved in corruption that were summoned. Today, they are summoning figures who reveal the truth behind the April 21st attacks. If someone reveals the truth behind the antigen fraud or the data scam, they are summoned to the CID.
These are political dramas. People don't have a way of purchasing rice, milk powder or gas. People are criticizing the government. The government is attempting to divert the attention of the people by staging these dramas. These attempts will do nothing but further strengthen the opposition.
His Eminence Bishop Kirti Sri Fernando, Bishop for Kurunegala of the Church of Ceylon, states that justice should be served for the victims of the April 21st attacks.
We see that once again there is a growing tendency in Sri Lanka to create tensions among communities based on their ethnicities and religious identities. This is dangerous. This threat is rising while investigations into the April 21st attacks are still ongoing. Now we have serious suspicion that this is being done to divert these investigations. Nelson Mandela once said, if a person comes into power by creating a crisis, he will be destroyed by a crisis. It is dangerous for those who are doing it. They show that they are investigating it, but we are not happy. It is not taking place efficiently. We know that if it is a minor incident, we would be arrested soon. Our army and the police are efficient. They investigate those matters quickly, but they are not identifying those responsible for this. They say that they need more time. It's been more than 2 years. I feel it is important to investigate this quickly and serve justice.
The data scam.
Several details have been revealed in Parliament on the sensitive data of people that were erased from the government's cloud server. A complaint was filed with the Criminal Investigations Department for the first time on the 23rd of July concerning the matter. It was later revealed that the data had been erased following an error by an engineer. Against such a backdrop, the State Minister of Pharmaceuticals, Professor Channa Jayasumana, told Parliament that the engineer had deleted the data even from his residence. According to the information we have, the person has not only deleted it at office but at his home as well. Who is this engineer that has the power to delete such vital and sensitive data? The person is going to move to Yes We Can. That is a campaign carried out by them. He is Sir's friend. He is going to that company. The Criminal Investigations Department has told court it has recorded statements from Epic Lanka's e-government technical support team engineer Oswatta Liyanage Jude Duminda Ayomal, Executive Consumer Affairs Assistant Asiri Vikramaratna Siriwardana, Assistant Technical Lead Sirimuthu Godage Mahesh Ishantilakaratna, and the Director and Chief Technical Officer of the Epic Lanka Group Niranjan Krishan Jayawardana. When details on the engineer who erased NMRA data from the cloud server under the ICTA have been revealed, what steps have been taken regarding him? Isn't it the responsibility of relevant officials to reveal details of this all-powerful engineer who was behind the loss of the people's data from the cloud server containing sensitive information? The engineer who is facing these accusations is still at large. Why is the ICTA that holds the entire responsibility of the cloud system remaining tight-lipped on the situation?
The data scam.
Animal rights activists in Sri Lanka are concerned if dogs and puppies abducted from Colombo are being sold as meat to foreign nationals. Now, in our continuing coverage on the dog napping saga in Colombo, it has come to light that these animals may be being drugged in order to sedate them.
On the 22nd of September, a chaotic scene in Colombo revealed an alarming situation in Colombo about dogs being abducted by two people. These two people are believed to be drugging the dogs and puppies and then confining them to a garbage cart in deplorable conditions. Animal rights activists rescued several puppies from the possession of the two people and traced them to Rajagire yesterday, where several more were rescued. The activists point out that they took matters into their own hands since authorities failed to intervene. According to animal rights activists, the dogs have not been fed properly and are weak. They managed to save 13 dogs from the suspected individuals, out of which 10 are puppies. Sri Lanka Animals, the organization that have kept these canines under their custody, say that they intend to treat, provide medicine and find homes that would care for them.
ඉතින් මම හිතන්නේ මේක නම් ඇත්තටම ක්‍රූරත්වය කියන්නේ මේ සත්තු අනිත් එක සද්දක් කරන්නේ නැහැ බුරන්නේ අපි හිතන්නේ මේකලුණුත් මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය ගන්නවා ඒ මතේ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය වලින් කොටසක්වත් මේ සත්තුන්ට දෙනවද දන්නේ නැත්නම් කොහොමද බුරන්නේ නැතුව ඉන්නේ සත්තු කීප වතාවක වීදි සංචාරය කරනකොට දැකලා තියෙනවා බලු පැටව මැරිලා වලලනවා ඒකම කට්ටිය ඇවිල්ලා බලනවා මේ රෙදි උස්සලා කරත් ඇතුළට බලනවා ඉතින් අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මේ පැත්තේ දැන් අපි දන්නවා ගොඩක් විදේශිකයෝ ඉන්නවා කොළඹ දෙකවට සහ හැමතැනම ගොඩනැගිලි ගහන ඒ අයට මසට දෙනවද කියලා අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මේගොල්ලෝ පෙන්නලත් සල්ලිත් මේගොල්ලෝ ගන්න. ඉතින් කිසිම ආදරයකට නෙමෙයි අත්‍තරම වෙන අරමුණු එක තමයි මේ සත්තු හැමතැනම ගෙනියන්නේ. මේ මගේ අතේ ඉන්න බලු පැටිය දැක්කොත් දැන් බලන්න කොච්චර චූටිද. ඒකම මන්ද පෝෂණ. මේ වගේ චූටි පැටව් අපි බේරගත්තා මං හිතන්නේ 7 දෙනෙක්.
අපිට ආරංචි වුණා මේ සත්තු සමහරක් වෙලාවට ඒගොල්ලෝ මසට පාවිච්චි කරනවා කියලා. ඉතින් ඒකේ ඇත්ත නැත්ත මොකද්ද කියන මම දන්නේ නැහැ. අපිට ඒක සැකයක් තියෙන්නේ. සහ ඒ සත්තුන්ට ඒගොල්ලෝ පාවිච්චි කරන මේ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය මෙයාලට දීලා ඒගොල්ලෝ නිහඬව ඒ කූඩුවේ වැටිලා හිටියේ ගොඩාක් අය. අපි මේගොල්ලෝ මේ නිදහස් කරගන්න ගිය වෙලාවේ ඒගොල්ලෝ අඩුම ගානේ කෑ ගැහුවේවත් නැහැ. අපිට බුරන්නවත් පැන්නේ නැහැ.
The large number of dogs found with the two individuals has raised many questions amongst concerned factions, including the unproven possibility of them being sold illegally to foreign workers.
In more local news, an event was held to declare open a project at Dharmapala Mawatha in Anuradhapura under the Siyak Nagara program. Now the project will cost 18.5 million rupees.
State Ministry of Urban Development, Waste Disposal and Community Cleanliness is overlooking the project.
The Galekale village in Hunnaskiria is surrounded by tranquility, but the lives of its residents are not peaceful as it seems. They are in hunger. Residents say that they can't even afford bread to their children who cry in hunger.
We are helpless. We don't have anything to eat. We haven't received any relief from the government either. We don't have money. It is difficult to make ends meet.
These villagers used to earn a living through labor. It's been a long time since they lost their livelihoods. These people are not asking for luxuries like houses or vehicles. All they need is rice to fulfill their hunger.
The European Commission has proposed a common charging solution for electronic devices. Now it says this will serve as an important step against e-waste and consumer inconvenience.
The European Commission has proposed USB-C to be the standard port for devices in European countries. This includes smartphones, tablets, cameras, headphones, portable speakers and handheld video game consoles. The proposal would see chargers not being sold along with devices in the future. The Commission has also called for a fast charging technology for all devices. It has said producers should provide details on charging performance to consumers. This proposal will need the approval of the European Parliament and the European Council. It will be implemented 2 years after receiving approval.
Sri Lanka is hosting the 35th International Conference on Lightning Protection and the 16th International Symposium on Lightning Protection. The event commenced on the 20th of this month and will get underway until the 26th. Sri Lanka is the first South Asian country to be hosting the conference.
The event is underway with the participation of over 300 scientific personnel, including scientists, engineers and giants in the field of lightning protection, participating from more than 30 countries to discuss over 15 different topics pertaining to the field of lightning and lightning protection. The main goal of the ICLP is to share the knowledge gained by researchers and experts in the field of lightning protection and to ensure further safety and protection to human beings, animals, structures and sensitive electronic equipment to protect lives and properties.
As a tropical country, we know that lightning is not something uncommon to us. Every year we experience a lot of damages, mainly in telecommunication industry, then electronic and legal equipment, as well as some few tens of lives. We know that the damages approximately come to around few hundred million rupees worth properties. The outcome of this conference is very useful in understanding the lapses in lightning protection techniques.
The last ICLP was held in Poland in 2018, where Sri Lanka was elected as a host country to convene the 35th ICLP, considering the substantial contributions made by the Sri Lankan scientists throughout the history of ICLP.
For the first time in history, the Sri Lankan Air Force Regiment Special Forces conducted a combat search and rescue training exercise during Cormorant Strike Exercise 9 on the 22nd of September 2021 deep within Thoppilgala. Now we leave you tonight with visuals from the combat exercise. For the News First team, I've been Miyuki Koshia along with our sign language interpreter Tharka Gabriel via Zoom. Take care and good night.